Hey now, Blue Jay fans and baseball fans with nothing better to do with their lives. I am your Feckless hope, Steve Fek, punching your ticket to enjoy the views from the On Fek Circle, presented Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time by JFtC.com and by the JFtC versus ALS campaign. It's time to retire ALS for good, and your donation in any amount to the JFtC versus ALS campaign is the perfect way to help us help ALS Canada assist patients and their families that have to live with this devastating, always fatal disease. If you head over to JFtC.com, you'll find links to make your secure tax-deductible donation, or you can pick up some terrific swag like On Fek Circle merchandise and all kind of Jason from the Couch merchandise from our Redbubble shop. Remember, 100% of the profits from the sale of all JFtC, Sunny Side of the Dome, and On Fek Circle merchandise goes directly to the fight against ALS and ALS Canada. And as an added bonus, between now and June 2nd, every donation to the JFtC versus ALS campaign, or all purchases from our Redbubble shop through June 2nd, they're going to earn an entry into a chance to co-host the On Fek Circle with me. So help us say feck you to ALS. Visit support.alsevents.ca/Jays from the Couch. That's support.alsevents.ca/Jays from the Couch right now. Go ahead. I'll wait till you make a donation. It's not like I really have a whole lot of things to say. So, well, I probably actually, you making the donation is way more important than anything that I'm going to say. So rather than make you wait for me to come back there, go make your donation now, and you can kind of have me in the background. I'm going to throw out a couple of ceremonial first pitches. Be sure to join our Blue Jays Talk for All Facebook page and join our fun and informative conversations. We host live in-game chats. There's some really great back and forth as group members share their thoughts and observations of the games. This past weekend, I was live at PNC Park on Friday and Sunday, kind of giving a different perspective from different type of things. But there's always great conversation. There's things throughout the week there, even when there's games aren't going on. So don't be shy. Join the Blue Jays Talk for All Facebook group today. And if you're curious about Blue Jays Stars of the Future, you need to start reading Ryan Mueller's minor league recaps. They're at JFtC.com every day. Every affiliate, every level. Games are recapped, insights into what's going on with the players. There's nobody out there that does it as in-depth and as informative as Ryan Mueller does it. So please go to JFtC.com. Make it part of your daily routine. If you can't do it in the morning with your coffee, do it when you get home before you start watching the games. I mean, they are fantastic. We do share it on our social media outlets, but go to JFtC.com and check out Ron Mueller's daily minor league recaps. It's amazing. There's nobody out there, and that includes like the Baseball Americas and all the fancy sites. Nobody does it on a consistent basis and an in-depth basis like Jason McCouch and Ryan Mueller's report. So make sure you check that out. As I mentioned earlier, Blue Jays had a big weekend here in my hometown of Pittsburgh. It was a fun environment. It wasn't quite what it was last year when Karen Suter and her husband Ron joined a group that came down from Toronto. I mean, I would say that of the people in the stands at PNC Park, even with the Pirates going as well as they were, I would say on Friday and Sunday, it was a majority. It was a 60-40 majority of Blue Jay fans, and they were vocal throughout the games. You knew, let's go Blue Jay chants were always going on. And if you're watching the TV broadcast or the radio broadcast, listening to it, you can know the Blue Jay fans were there. Saturday night, it was fireworks night, so it's amateur night. It's not even really a night to watch baseball. You're there, and your grandmother's there, and your nephews and sons and daughters that are running around and all kind of things. So it's more of a carnival than it is a baseball game on a fireworks night here in Pittsburgh. But it was a great series coming off the debacle against the Red Sox, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show and outside the box score. It was a great weekend for the Blue Jays. They start a series across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia tonight at about, I believe this game time is at 6:40, if I'm not mistaken. That's Eastern time. Speaking of time, it's time for this week's Fekless Wonder. And continuing our historical look at what ifs in Blue Jay history, it kind of started when I went on my rant about Dave Steve needing to be in the Hall of Fame and Carlos Delgado, and how other organizations really get behind their Hall of Fame candidates. So it kind of started there, and that germinated an idea about different things, since we were talking about Hall of Famers, or potential Hall of Famers, different things in Blue Jays history that you would like to have been a part of. Last week, it was, what era did you want to be the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays? We had a lot of different answers out there in comments and from colleagues here at Jays from the Couch. I chose the J.P. Ricciardi era because, number one, Carlos Delgado would never have left Toronto. He'd have been signed a Blue Jay for life. But also, I think he could have drafted better. It was ripe for the taking. Rogers had just taken over. It was a ripe time to have the Blue Jays be competitive and get back to the playoffs before they did. This week, I'm wondering, given the chance to manage any Blue Jays team since 1977, the expansion year, which roster would you choose to manage? Now, naturally, a lot of people are going to go and jump at the chance to say, well, I wanted to manage one of the World Series championship teams to back-to-back in 92 and 93. And I mean, I can't blame you. And Lawson, hello, Lawson. Lawson is a regular on this show, and quite often we actually, our senior editor, Sean Doyle, probably should just give this show to Lawson. He did such a wonderful job a couple of weeks ago when he was on, and I really think that you're going to hear a lot from him in the future in formats like this. And who knows, he'll be leading our Toronto Blue Jays in the future. But glad you tuned in there, Lawson. It would be easy to say, yes, I want to manage a World Series team. But when I looked at that, I'm like, really, when you break it down, could anybody have done a better job than Cito Gaston did, starting when he took over for Jimmy Williams in 1989 and right through the World Championship years? Really, could anybody have done a better job? I mean, you could say, yes, Cito had his favorites and he really didn't play young players, wasn't big on development. He wanted the veterans to play. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. But really, as far as affecting what the results would have been, I would say no. That's not a time that I wish I was managing the Blue Jays, because you really can't, in retrospect, have managed better than Cito Gaston did. And the same could be said really from the Bobby Cox years. And people forget, because he's so associated with the Atlanta Braves, that Bobby Cox was instrumental in the first successful winning seasons of the Blue Jays. Right after the expansion years, he was here from 82 to 85. 82 was a little rough, but you could tell right away, the farm system was starting to produce, and he was picking that fruit, and he was making some tasty lineups out. 83, a great job. 84, I thought Bobby Cox's best managing job ever was in 84, because the Detroit Tigers got up to such a ridiculous historical start. Sound familiar, Blue Jay fans that are now living through the Tampa Bay Rays that can do no wrong almost? But he kept that team in there, and really from about Memorial Day here in the States on, the Blue Jays outperformed the Tigers, but the Tigers were so far out front, it really didn't matter. So I think it would have been a fun time, I think, to be the manager, but Bobby Cox was the right guy. He had the right skill sets. He had the right talents to not only bring along those young players, but put together an AL East division winner. And I don't think that there was any manager in the game, period. Not La Russa, not anybody else you want to throw out there. Maybe Jim Leland, if he was given the shot to come to Toronto. But really, nobody could have done a better job than what Bobby Cox did from 82 to 85. So I kind of put those years aside. For 26 years now, I have been bitching and moaning and fighting back tears every time I think or talk about the 1987 Blue Jays season. It's hard for me to talk about even now, but initially that was my choice. I would wished I would have had a chance to manage the 1987 Blue Jays. And for those of you too young to remember, or those of you who just blocked it out of their memory and don't like to think about it, the Blue Jays, for me, the 1987 Blue Jays may have been the best team 1 through 25 in Blue Jays history, and that includes the World Series championship teams. Pat Gillick did a nice job continuing to draft and international signings, bringing people up through the system. Problem is, we had a manager by the name of Jimmy Williams who was absolutely clueless. Now, mind you, he had this great reputation. Oh, what a great teacher. Oh, he gets, he really, he knows the game inside and out. He was Bobby Cox's right-hand man when Cox was here. He took over when Cox went to Atlanta. He's the worst manager in Blue Jays history. And yes, I know people are going to say, well, what about Charlie Montoyo? Well, he was worse than Charlie Montoyo. And for me, who from the first day I was on the Jays from the Couch radio podcast until he finally got fired, it was fire Charlie Montoyo. There's a little behind the scene note from Sean Doyle. I said, what about Tim Johnson? He never really had a chance to manage. Now, as far as being a despicable person, Tim Johnson is the most despicable manager in the history of the Toronto Blue Jays. But I put Charlie Montoyo and Carlos Tosca as the two worst managers outside of Jimmy Williams. The Jays led the AL East pretty much from start almost to the finish. With a week to go, they were up by 3.5 games. They lost the last 7 games, including getting swept by the evil Sparky Anderson-led Tigers. I don't necessarily mind the Tigers, but the Sparky Anderson era Tigers, I really, really hated. He did not use his closer, his all-star closer, who was dominant at times, Tom Henke, the entire last week. He made questionable decisions throughout the season, but they were even more magnified during this 7-game losing streak that cost the Blue Jays the AL East title. I could have used dice and Stratomatic charts to get at least one win from the Jays over that last week. But not everybody out there remembers 87 the way that I did. So as much as I wanted to go on an unbelievable rant about the 87 Blue Jays and Jimmy Williams, I mean, that team, like I said, for me is the best team in Blue Jays history on paper. They would have easily not only won the East, they would have won the American League pennant, and I believe they would have defeated the Cardinals in the World Series. We would have had a World Series 5 years earlier, but Jimmy Williams was a dope. And he had this great reputation of being a teacher and in-game strategist. Honest to God, as much as we go crazy about how the bullpen has been managed over the last couple of years, Jimmy Williams had no idea how to manage a pitching staff. I mean, if you ever run into Dave Steve, ask Dave Steve. Ask Mike Flanagan. Ask any of the starters. Ask anybody that pitched for him. He was absolutely clueless. So rather than reinforce the fact that I'm an old man and going way back in time, I want to talk about, I wish I would have managed the 2021 Blue Jays. I don't know. In all my years as a baseball fan, I've gotten misty at times when Carl Yastrzemski retired. He was my guy. I was a Red Sox fan growing up before the Blue Jays were even in existence. 78 and Bucky Dent, I was misty-eyed. I wasn't a big Thurman Munson fan, but when he died in that plane crash, I got misty-eyed. Lyman Bostock being shot, being mistaken for somebody else, being shot dead in the midst of what would have been his career year as he signed a big free agent contract. There are a lot of things over the years that I got misty-eyed about. 2021, I was angry. Charlie Montoyo, at his best, was great at taking the reports the front office was handing down and literally following those recommendations. He grew up in the Tampa Bay Rays system, minor league manager, minor league instructor, and things are scripted out. Remember when Kevin Cash took out Blake Snell, who was pitching a great game, and then the Rays lost, and they lost their chance at the World Series? That's how that team is managed. Because of that, Charlie Montoyo, who was already a poor in-game manager, another guy that had no clue about how to manage a pitching staff. But in fairness, he was doing the job that he was brought in to do, and that is to implement all the analytics that the Blue Jays wanted to adopt and put into things. So he was just a push button manager. During the course of the 2021 season, there were 3 5-game losing streaks involving either AL East contenders or the Houston Astros. There were 3 of them. They occurred primarily in May, in June, and a little bit going end of June into the beginning of July. The questionable management of the bullpen and how they managed the pitching staff. A manager worth his salt, a manager who is not just pushing buttons and implementing what's coming out on a report, would have found ways to not just keep going along with it, sit in the bullpen, sit in the dugout like this, all steadfast, the Sphinx, and just, try to explain it away. Oh, we have to tell, other reports show this and that and this and that. In fairness to Charlie Montoyo, the front office didn't help him. They waited far too long in 2021 to make additions. Now, in the offseason, George Springer, Robbie Ray. I wasn't a big fan of the Marcus Semien signing because they could have used that money for pitching, especially bullpen arms. But again, all of these guys were now in place, added to the core. Vladdy had an MVP caliber year. I still say he was the MVP. I understand the whole fascination with Shohei Ohtani. For me, he was the MVP that year. Bo Bichette, that was his coming out year. As good as he was before that, he became an actual star. Jose Barrios got acquired. He pitched like we remember Jose Barrios when he was good. Ray won his Cy Young. There were so many things happening. The lineup was just ridiculously efficient. But the fact that we didn't have a real manager in that seat, we had a guy pushing buttons and reading reports. Blue Jays, if you remember in 2021, finished one game behind the Yankees and the Red Sox. They did not even get into a wild card. If you had a manager like a John Schneider who takes the analytics but also goes with his gut, that had the wherewithal to say, you know what, I'm seeing something different from what the report's saying. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They would have overcome the injuries. They would have overcome the lack of depth on the bench. He would have found a way. You or I, or at least many of you, would have found a way in all of those games, especially in those losing streaks, to win at least two of those games. They had 96 wins. To win two of those games that would have got them into the wild card. And quite honestly, once you're with that lineup and with the rotation that they had, who knows how far they could have gone in 2021. So my choice as far as the year, the roster that I wish that I would have had the chance starting in spring training, going on through what would have been a playoff, in my personal opinion, any manager worth his while would have gotten that Blue Jay team into the playoffs, would have been 2021. I was angry in 2021. I was sad and I was misty-eyed in 1987. But I already knew that Jimmy Williams was clueless. So I was just enjoying that year. Though in the back of my mind all year, I just had that feeling. I hope it doesn't come down. I hope Jimmy Williams doesn't blow this. As much as 87 hurts, to this day hurts. 2021 still makes me angry. I wish I was the manager of the 2021 team. Let's take a look outside the box score now. We talked about the great weekend series that the Blue Jays had here at PNC Park here in my hometown of Pittsburgh. But prior to that, they were swept by the Boston Red Sox. No matter how you feel about the Red Sox, and I realize a lot of people, especially in Atlantic Canada and Eastern Canada, probably there might be as many Red Sox fans as there are Blue Jay fans in those provinces. But anytime that you lose to a division rival, I have a theory, in essence, and it's a factor of two. Now, I'm not a mathematician, and maybe it's my growing up as a big hockey fan, and they used to always call them 4-point games when you were playing, a team in your division. If you lose a game, you have given a game to your opponent. So in essence, especially when you're playing within the division, in essence, every game is really worth 2. And there's a factor of 2. Complicated by that is this misgotten idea that a balanced schedule where every team plays every other team in Major League Baseball is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They have taken away games between division rivals so that you can have every team on your local TV or radio, or every team in Rogers Center. And it's misguided. If this was the 1990s or even the 2000s, okay, because you didn't have all the streaming options and all of the abilities to watch games. MLB.TV, Sportsnet. Here in the States, it's ESPN, Fox Sports, FS1, FS2. You've got games on Apple TV now. You got games on Peacock. There are so many ways to watch baseball that if you really want to watch a team, let's say the Padres or the Dodgers, teams that you didn't really get to see only maybe once every 3 years, There are so many ways to watch baseball now. It's not as important. You are now taking in this balanced schedule, which really is an out of balance schedule, because come August and September, teams that are behind in their divisional races and all their fans are going to start whining about, oh, we didn't get to play this team as much or that team as much, and we only had a chance. If we had those extra 6 games, we would beat the Red Sox, we would beat the Yankees, we'd beat the Rays. You guys asked for this. You guys said, "What a wonderful idea, Rob Ramford and competition committee. What a great idea." The balanced schedule is stupid because of the factor that I said. So when you when you get swept by a division rival like the Boston Red Sox, in essence, every one of those losses, you might as well count it as a second loss, because you're not going to get a chance to make up those losses in the extra 6 games that you lost. And the fact is, you handed wins to a team that you did, and now you have less opportunity to make up for it. And before everybody starts saying, well, look at the Rays, they're beating up on all of these teams, and if we only played the Pirates more. Hey, the Pirates coming into that week had the best record in the National League. They beat the teams on their schedule, including the Dodgers, including the Cardinals. They played good teams. The Rays are beating the teams on their schedule. Everybody's going to get to play those teams eventually. But how you capitalize on those games that you're playing as they come up on your schedule, that's really ultimately what matters. Going to Fenway, the Jays had to come away with 2 wins. You had to basically neutralize that series. 2 wins, 2 losses becomes a wash. You lose a series, you're down at least 2 games in theory, because you didn't pick up a win, didn't pick up a loss. The fact they got swept over 4 is even worse. This balanced schedule is going to come back and bite a lot of contending teams. Blue Jays, one of them. Are the Rays having a ridiculous season? Yes. But they're not just playing last place teams. They're not playing the A's every day or the Tigers every day. They're taking advantage of every series they play, and they're getting off to a historic start. So now, not only is every team having to scramble and keep pace. I mean, look at the Orioles. Orioles have had a wonderful start, and they're still 4.5, 5 games back. There are fewer opportunities to make up ground when you have a team kind of run away and hide. The Yankees last year kind of ran away and hid, not to the degree that the Rays did. You've got fewer opportunities now. If you want to watch the San Diego Padres on Wednesday, subscribe to MLB.tv or get SiriusXM. You can listen to the game on the radio. This balanced schedule, getting to see all the teams, how exciting it is. It's like having fireworks night. It's not about baseball and winning games and winning pennants. It's about entertainment, and it stinks. Well, that's about all my rantings for the week. I do want to check out, see what the fortune cookie of fate has in store for our Blue Jays this week. While I'm doing that, remember, Sunny Side of the Dome, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, hosted by Karen Suter, and the Jason McCaster radio podcast, hosted by Sean Doyle. That's Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. There'll be a 2-week hiatus on the main podcast, but we'll be back here really, really soon. Our things here, negotiations move along smoothly. The outcome is favorable. What could that mean? Could it mean that Russ Atkins has something in the fire to help kind of stabilize the bullpen? Are they going to find a way to buy out Brandon Belt's contract? Get him out of the middle of the lineup? Don't know. The fortune cookie knows we'll have to watch baseball this week and through October to see what the real answers are. I'm the Fekless Wonder, Steve Fek. Thanks for tuning in. On Fek Circle, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can download it as a podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all kind of where good podcasts are. You're going to find the On Fek Circle. You're going to find Sunny Side of the Dome, and you're going to find the Jason the Couch Radio podcast. I'll be back with you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for tuning in.